Hello, everyone, my dear viewers, and thank you for coming to my channel. And before you start the video, please subscribe to the channel and like this video. I will be very pleased, so let's go. A weak man chained to a hospital bed named Hirako and his quick death. It would seem that this logic should lead to the end of history. But we are still watching for the death of the Japanese guy, so it is time to be reborn and help the main hero in this business is a real god. He tells the boy that the boy died because of his fault and that the whole life of the gag was strewn with problems, as if he were some kind of sinner. Therefore, God asks for forgiveness and offers to make amends by resurrecting the interlocutor in a different world with a young and healthy body. And to make the time in another reality even more comfortable, God allows a hierarch to make any wish to start a new life, and the protagonist made a perfect farm image for himself. The idea of becoming a farmer came to Hirako in a previous life. Then on TV, he saw a rich existence in the fields with vegetables, and decided that being a farmer is the best choice of all. God, of course, heard the wish and gave the start of the protagonist's second life as a super smart farmer with magical adjunct magic. From Danny, the hierarchist begins to live anew, and he immediately begins to work. Good, the deity has not deceived him in anything. Hirako has all the buildings that help him to beautify the area and survive without much trouble. True, the very place where the farmer appeared does not look very safe, but Hirako tries not to pay attention to any stupidity and continues to work with double tenacity in the field of construction and magical agriculture, sometimes distracted from the battle with monsters, rabbits, and a sudden visit of dark gray wolves with a pregnant female. Leaving the young defenseless Hirako family outside the territory of the defended Gigi, he nobly did not and offered the predators to sit with him until the mommy is stronger. And suddenly the next morning, the main character and Daddy Wolf had a replenishment. And the predatory family loved being in the territory of the Hirako, that they decided not to leave, but to become full-fledged neighbors with the farmer. And the company of a person obviously does not hurt. On the contrary, together with animal friends, Hirako began to live twice more fun. Although unfortunately, wolves will not replace full-time communication with people. However, there is no time to be sad on conversations. It has yet to create a lot of things for a more comfortable living. Create water, find salt, without which it is so difficult to eat with taste. Plus, winter is coming soon, and it's not clear how to live without warm cloth. However, the problem with clothes disappears immediately when a mighty spider visits the farmer's territory. For warm potatoes from the garden spider gives Hirako so precious tissue, and the coming winter was successfully experienced without loss in cozy warmth. After the winter came the thaws of new baby spiders, which like wolves began to multiply. All began to breed at all, except for the Gigi, which until now had no communication with living people. However, the boy was lucky, because in the woods, at the tip of his animal guards, he came across almost a man or simply a vampire named Rufushiru. And as soon as Hirako gave the girl a tour of his property, the farmer did not wait for any time. He took and offered to directly become a wreck of his life companion. The proposal turned out to be sudden, but the vampire has accepted it. And I suggest that before their life together, a little acquaintance with a beautiful girl. First of all, she's smart. The vampire knows a lot about this world, and for example, she tells Gigi that he settled in the forest of death, and Ruishi is very surprised how Hirako managed to survive here, and also built a settlement. Second, her arrival in the forest is associated with criminal offenses in an expensive and rich boyar city, so that the rescue in the form of an unnoticed house of the protagonist she took with great joy. So leave here already now from her husband girl will not. And since Hirako has found one so pretty in the woods, it's time to add a second one, not on purpose. Once again, by sheer coincidence, the angel herself, imitating the Theon, was found in the deadly forest. She, by the way, flew here for the vampire. You see, angels in this world are considered extremely skilled warriors. And, of course, it was a genius idea to make such angelic efforts to catch all sorts of criminals. But Rurushi was able to replay the whole situation in her favor and managed to dissuade her friend from hunting her, in return inviting the girl to live on her husband's farm, bribed with a bonus tasty strawberry. And it is funny that the winged concubine almost immediately after settling into the house Gigi brought a couple or 3 other girls on a plate, just looking for a place where you can live for free. And the new comrades in the village were the high elves, who were tortured by the human war. Yes, so that poor elves wandered the world for several centuries, and the chief among them, Ria, without hesitation, agreed to all the terms of Hirako upon joining the ranks of the settlers and assembled a detachment of subordinates, ordered to begin work immediately with the subsequent renovation of the village of the protagonist. The high elves built a house from the ground up, other buildings, which surprised the kid a little, because he always thought of elves not as cool workers, but more like ordinary forest protectors, not eating meat and rejecting everything human. In fact, elves can give a head start to some blacksmiths and builders the speed of erecting objects of varying complexity. And the most important creation of the last days in the village of Hiraku was the end of the construction of the bath, where the guy showed how to properly wash to shine. And probably slowly it would be time to think about reproduction. Only in the head of the literally surrounded by the theme. Those who want to deepen the relationship completely do not get it all. And it is a pity that even part of the animals understand what an opportunity their owner misses. And all the hints from the locked bedroom to compliments from the Hiraku girls are actively ignored. So that already came the second winter for the life of the protagonist, which he spent even more companies for board games, bowling, and food. However, it is impossible to have fun forever. It is also time to start work, especially since winter has receded, and in the sky you can see the attack of the wyvern. On orders from above, or did the monster come to the woods? Anyway, the wyvern is threatening to destroy the village. Therefore, Hiraku, out of fear, reproduced in his mind at least some weapons and received a spear, sent a moment into a flying snake with a critical hit and subsequent death of the wyvern. From the boy's strength, naturally everyone was shocked, including the neighbors, of which it is necessary to highlight the castle of the Lord of Darkness, the city of dragons. They were all aware of a man's victory over the wyvern as real diplomats prepared for speedy diplomatic relations. And in the meantime, the Hiraku had another replenishment of its citizens. And again, no man came to the village. I'm not going to count lizards as men from an angel. By the way, among the newcomers especially stands out younger cousin, a vampire named Flora. She's in charge of the settlement, making all sorts of spices and potions to help with the cooking. Actually, everything around blooms and smells, so it's time to get acquainted with the neighbors. First came the messenger of the Lord of Darkness with no end, and he had a very strange conversation. The chief of the Hiraku village simply suggested that their ruler should pay a tax on the land of death, where they settled and give a small portion of the food in return for protection. Interestingly, Bessel barely spoke during the negotiations, and only nodded his head, returning to the Dark Kingdom, told about the successful hike, because the Dark Ones, before making contact with the Hiraku, were counting on war with them, not a defense and tax arrangement. Grace, in a word, is no other way. Representatives, the Dramo King himself, flew immediately to the friendly meeting behind the Dark Harbingers. With that too, it was possible to get along for a small price in the form of a barrel of wine. Well, everything further swelled up to other meetings with, for example, the Beastmen. Unlike the higher races, they were able to supply silver and mirrors in a stunning reception. And also for the cordial meeting in the village, there was a new addition of animals of girls and 3 more young boys. Fate literally tells Herak that other men like him, and he will not see. Although after a couple of meetings with other races in the village, the protagonists became higher gnomes. But they do not want with local girls much more than socializing. Tastes ultimately vary greatly. However, now the vantage point is shifted, and we are shown a family quarrel between dragons, which was instantly interfered with by a Hiraku, who almost killed his wife, and the daughter of a great daimyo. The family of dragons, as it turned out, came for the papa, that became extremely frequent to the village Gigi, as if hiding secrets. In fact, the whole he just liked wine. And as proof, the father forces his daughter in the village to grow up with Moon, to learn local skills and entertainment. Hiraku was no doubt not against joining the higher species in his settlement. But while he was working on the dragon, the boy did not notice how the dark realm sent a spy to him, a girl named Florim, looking for the weak spots of such a booming village. However, when she met the head, her half of the espionage disappeared. She got in line with the other girls and did unscrupulous work in the garden and other household. At the same time, at this hour, when the village wanted to add more seafood to its diet and communicated with the new influential crab supplier Michael, another dragon descended into the territory near the settlement. The king's older sister, Hakarun, joined the collective, not to say smoothly but steadily. It is good that the right profession was quickly chosen for her, or that lazy dragon woman would certainly not add value, and even more so when attacking a village soon. Yes, the clouds are thickening, and the dark ruler of the Galgold's castle is carrying terrible news. His daughter, the Grogaloon, the first spoiled princess, and her friends are going to attack the Hirako house. The motive is the princess's vile imprisonment as a hostage, and although the Forum herself warned no one to attack the territory of the protagonist, the princess and her friends still did something stupid. But quickly it was broken, and the daughters of the ruler and friends had to explain themselves to the Frau since. It's nice that Hiraku is not offended by an invasion attempt. He invites travelers to come and visit. A couple of days later, in a corner of the Death Forest, the girls and the princess changed their faces. Plus, when the Gratalam was about to return to the castle and her friends wanted to stay with the guy indefinitely and asked their princess to visit the place more often. In addition, a place for the truth is flattering. Once a few days later, a small group of dark mountain elves was added to the village from above. And that's not all, because the addition to the settler came from where they were waiting. There was a pregnancy of the wife of Rurushi. All the symptoms are on her face, and through the fleeting nights, the vampire has a belly. It is not clear how and under what circumstances the conception took place, but our attention is still diverted and redirected acquaintance with grandfather vampire Walgrave, aged more than 4,000 years, and he was as familiar with the god who sent the Hiraku to the ground. That's when the vampire dedicated himself to the sacred existence, and begged the boy, his granddaughter, a divine statue in return for the blessing of the young and grand piano for a beautiful life with music, so that before the birth of the child of the head everything and everything was in harmony with the Herak, and break up, calm the nerves before the child the same protagonist cannot. This is in part the most important event in his new life. And glory to the gods, the childbirth was successful and without difficulty for the Rurusha, already holding his son in her arms. The child, the half-vampire, was given a name by Alfred, as powerful and respected as a baby. From now on, Hirak will need to expand his domain with double strength. After all, the holiday and new residents in the area of more than 100 units. According to rumors from girls, soon ask for shelter, and to keep them all close to the original village, the workers need to build another. Or in short, the head farmer in the future will have a lot of global work. The end of the first season. What a last word. The anime farm life in the other world gave the impression at the beginning of the viewing that the work will tell about survival and maximum fleeting relationships with some random people. But after a couple of episodes, it all went so fast. I had a whirl, and before I knew it, the protagonist had become a father. And you know, it'd be okay. I would give the title a 7-point high for such a dynamic narrative with strengthened reviews for food and wooden houses. But there's one thing that doesn't allow me to score big, and this thing is strictly my personal problem. Unfortunately, I did not like the overly optimistic title. Although I am well aware that this anime is designed to relax and rest without the burden of life. But somehow this anime has caused me an unpleasant feeling of too good environment around ache. Everything is so well formed that it is uncomfortable. Therefore, personally for me, this work gets a solid 6. My story is over, and if you liked my video, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and like this video.